Collective. Welcome back to the realm of alignment where we unlock the body's hidden codes. All right, so for those of you who don't understand why I have a bell in the beginning of my video, it's because bells break up stagnant energy. It is a very ancient practice. My grandmothers always had bells. They would ring the bells around the house to break up the stagnant energy, especially in the corners of the house. I love wearing bells on my ankles as a form of jewelry because walking around and shaking those bells is a great way to break up that stagnant energy so it gets the flow going. Okay, so that's a quick explanation of why I have the bell. I just felt like I needed to explain that. So, welcome, collective. Welcome back to the Chakra Land program. We are on day 3 of week 2, Sacral Chakra week. Now, those of you who are new to this video, if this is your first video that you're seeing, you haven't seen any of the other previous videos, welcome. The sacral chakra is the chakra of sensual, sexual, creative energy, all in one. And we're talking today about how to balance that out. Now, I'm bringing to you today a real discussion because as I share information with you, collective, I'm also experiencing these things on my journey, which I believe is the purpose of why I'm experiencing the things I'm experiencing in the first place, is because I'm meant to come back and share what I've overcame with the collective, with you guys. There has been nothing that I've been faced with that I have not overcome. I've overcome every challenge that come my way. Anything that comes my way, I work through it. I look into it. I receive the lessons behind it and I integrate. I alchemize and I transmute the energy. I'm getting better and better at transmuting. It is one of the heaviest things to do, truly. And I feel like the more transmutations that you do, the more you will get to transmute, meaning you'll have more experiences and more challenges that will come your way for you to transmute. And I believe the purpose of that is to expand the capacity to receive the blessings, because it's not that your life is just going to be about a bunch of transmuting and just having to constantly, go through this and go through that and transmute this and transmute that. That's not the reality. What happens is when you're shifting from one timeline to the next, meaning you're going from maybe a more stagnant reality, poverty consciousness, lack mentality, procrastination, lack of self-control, being impulsive, um, all the things that are on a lower vibrational energy. In order to shift into a higher vibrational energy, you will be faced with challenges to overcome. So through those challenges, what happens is your capacity expands, your ability to, not lose your mind every time, you face a challenge that is upsetting, something that triggers you. You may come to a space where you're able to find your self control and think before you act. That's a capacity expansion within itself. And that capacity can show up in so many different ways. So, me personally, when it comes to my sexual energy, this is something that I believe my capacity has expanded in this area. Specifically in this time of my life, at this point in my life, I feel like having to face the fact that I have been misusing my sexual energy was the most difficult thing to come face to face with. All right, so let's get into it. That's where we're taking it today. I've always honored the fact that I am a very sexual being. That's one of the things I love about myself, because through my sexual energy is where I'm able to heal. I recognize my ability to heal through my sexual energy. I recognize my ability to love through my sexual energy. I recognize my ability to create through my sexual energy. But the hardest part about having fun with that energy was coming to terms recently with the fact that this energy I was frolicking in was not true honor. True honor isn't using your sexual energy to create connections. That's not true honor. That's actually rooted in seeking validation, lack of self worth. Okay. That's rooted in people pleasing. I would even throw in imposter syndrome, because you'll find ways to put on a new energetic outfit sexually to appease a person, place, or thing in order for it to exist in your reality. And that's not honor. That's not high vibrational. And when I say high vibrational, I mean it's not healing. It's not healing, and it doesn't close the cycle or progress into a evolved energy. That's what I mean when I say high vibrational. Anything that's low vibrational is stagnant. It goes around in circles. It doesn't evolve. It doesn't progress. It doesn't get better. It just goes into it's cyclical. It doesn't come out of that circle, that ring of continuation. And the reason for that is because it's coming back around for you to learn the lesson. So it keeps coming around and around until you learn the lesson. But the problem with that is the longer you take to learn the lesson, the harder it becomes to identify between your true identity and the mask of your traumas that you have now integrated with and made your identity. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes a lot of sense, because what I'm trying to say is when you're functioning out of lack and out of the need to be chosen or out of the need to feel seen and validated, your sexual energy can be highly misused to pull attention towards you. But the problem with that is not balanced energy. So you're not going to pull in the things that you think you want to pull in. What you'll actually be attracting is obsessive energy. You'll be attracting energy that reflects back to you ways in which you are avoiding yourself. And that can go really deep. So let's tap into that really quick. And oh my gosh, I don't want to make this video like a whole hour because I'm about to take it there. Let's go into the questions, okay? Because then we can answer that. We can like mix in what I was about to say into the first question. So, how are you protecting or not protecting your sexual energy? Self avoidance can show up in ways like when you are dealing with a heartbreak, and instead of you integrating with the heartbreak and self reflecting and going into solitude, you go out to the club and you look for people to sleep with. Never did that in my life, but that is an example. I'm sure we've had people around, maybe friends. Some of you could be your family members, but you heard, or could be the person that avoids in that way using your sexual energy. So instead of you sitting with how you feel and being introspective about what you experienced and what you are, or what you are experiencing, you avoid how you feel by going out, drinking, doing whatever drug you want to do, your drug of choice, and having sex with random people. Some of you don't even take it home. You do it right where you are. And that's chaotic energy. That is a lack of self-respect. And when you welcome that energy into your auric field, you have made a declaration to your spirit that confirmation. You've made a declaration to your spirit that you're not ready to receive real love. You're not ready to be valued yet. You're not ready to be respected because you openly just dish out your sexual energy and treat it like it's nothing. You treat it like it's disposable, like anybody can have access to it. That's a big problem. Because the truth is, this realm that we're living in doesn't care about what you say or how you feel. The energy is what's being responded to. It's the energy. It's the energy. It's the energy. So when you operate in a specific type of way, in any type of way, that's what speaks. That's what speaks louder than anything. So you could be subconsciously setting the tone to attract all kinds of experiences towards you, and you don't even realize it because you haven't identified what you're doing and how you're moving energetically. Okay, so how are you protecting or not protecting your sexual energy? What ways are you not protecting your sexual energy? And be honest with yourself. Because sleeping around is not protecting your sexual energy. Let's be real. Some people may feel like they're in a situation where they don't really have a choice because we have sex workers. But you have to be real with yourself. That's not protecting your sexual energy. But then some people who are in that industry will do extra things to protect themselves energetically because of the fact that they do sleep with other people for their job to make money. So they'll do other things to balance out the energy to protect themselves. But that is a whole other conversation because that's not real balance. That's not real protection. You can't put clean wine in a dirty bottle. Does that make sense? So when you're welcoming in good energy, you have to make sure that your vessel is clean and that you're not putting yourself in the same situations and creating the same circumstances energetically in your auric field. Because then whatever is trying to come in is going to get mucky. It's going to get dirty. It's not going to be clean or purified anymore when it enters into your auric field because of the energy that you're painting in your space. That's just the truth. Now, ways in which you are protecting your sexual energy can look like abstaining from sex. That's the easiest. Number one. Ways to protect your sexual energy is covering your body up. Something as I get older, I am falling more in love with. Obviously, I'm never going to stop being, my sensual self. There's going to be moments where I will still wear my lingerie and take a picture here and there. I might go to the club and have a little leg, a little cleavage showing. I don't even go to the club, but if I go out in general, I'm still going to have get my sexy on. But I'm also learning the difference between what it looks like to be sexy, classy, and sexy, raunchy. You don't want to be sexy, raunchy because it invites in energy that you do not want. And that's just what we have to face. That's the world we live in, period. That's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. That's the world we live in. Okay, moving on. Let's enter into our womb space. Identify your sexual energy by asking, how do I feel when I think of how I use my sexual energy? Let's get into it. When I think about how I feel personally, being honest with myself, not good. I'm 33 years old, turned 33 this year, and came to the ugliest realization that slapped me in the face about how I've been using my sexual energy. Now, I'll get specific. When it comes to my romantic relationships, I have used my sexual energy unconsciously to attract my partners, my romantic partners towards me. And the reason for why I've used my sexual energy to create and cultivate like romantic connections is because I didn't feel safe being seen. I didn't feel safe being recognized in my own authenticity. So I cloaked my authenticity with my sexual energy because my sexual energy is what I'm comfortable with. I'm comfortable being a sexual being. I'm comfortable in my sexuality. So I've used that to, put it on the forefront to attract my romantic relationships. So what ended up happening was I was attracting people towards me who didn't get to see my authentic self and instead were attracted to my sexual energy, which then created codependency in my connections and high level hypersexuality. So keep in mind, when you're in a connection and you've attracted a connection towards you using sexual energy, there is not going to be a solid foundation to build, whatever it is you have to offer on. Because after I attracted these connections, I then would start expressing my authenticity, which is my ability to be loyal, my ability to be devoted, my ability to take care of whoever, I'm dating. All of these great qualities I had within myself, it's like they didn't have room. There was no room for those parts of me to really thrive because the foundation wasn't built for that type of energy. It was it was a space that welcomed in codependency and welcomed in fast fast connection, fast acting hypersexuality. So even if there was love in the connections, which I'm not saying there wasn't, there of course there was love in these connections, but it wasn't unconditional love. It was, love with conditions, which truly isn't ultimately love, right? So it was rooted in a lot of other energies that couldn't sustain itself. So that's what I've come to realize. My sexual energy wasn't used for good ultimately, because in return for me, that wasn't rewarding. There is no reward in that. There's only lessons in that. So when I was slapped in the face with that clarity and that realization, I can't even explain to you like how hard it was to see that, but how difficult it was to see it made me want to change that part of me so bad. It immediately shifted my energy, like immediately. When I came to the realization to perceive it on the level that I'm perceiving it now, immediate changes. Like I am not even that person anymore. Like I can't tell you that a month ago, the person that I am now was the energy a month ago. Like I wasn't in this energy a month ago. I didn't have this perspective a month ago. Okay. So shifting my reality in my mind and how I see myself and how I view my personal power, my sexual energy is going to cause for even the connections in my life currently to shake up because I'm not the same person. I'm not operating in the same energy. I'm not seeing things the same way. So things will be shaken up. But that's how life goes. It's supposed to be that way, right? And the things that fall back into place are the things that were always supposed to be in that space. But the things that don't, then those are the things that needed to be removed. Okay. So that's what happens when you come to the realization of that powerful energy you carry. Because remember, your sexual energy is one of the most powerful energies ever. I would argue that sexual energy is the most powerful energy to exist, because through sexual energy, through your sacral chakra, is creation. And there is nothing that exists in this realm or any realm that could exist without creation, the purpose and intention of creation. So I look at sexual energy on such a powerful level, but how I was sharing my sexual energy with people who didn't understand it in that way, it wasn't received like that. So it was often, downplayed and disrespected. You know what I mean? But again, that is in full accountability. I had to take full accountability of that because of how I was putting the energy out. And that's why we have to be careful with our power, because people don't see it the way that you know it is. You know you're powerful. You know you're a healer sexually. You know that you carry, a powerful sacral chakra, and that you are in tune with creation. You know that, but the people that you're attracting, they don't know that. They just see your sensuality. They just see your your body, and they see your voluptuous feminine curves. They're not really checking the fact that, oh, I can differentiate between, you know, this person using their body in a, demonic way, being a Jezebel, breaking up homes and trying to just get attention. And I can differentiate. I know and discern that this person, she's using her sexual energy because that's her power. So I get it. It's not that easy for everybody. Men can't often discern that energy, which I won't say is fully their responsibility. To a degree, yes, because I mean, it's their own responsibility for their own selves personally, for them to protect themselves, to be mindful. So this is teachable to men too. But it's 1000% our responsibility how we put our energy out, how we put our sexual energy out, and honor the sexual energy, and actually define what honoring our sexual energy looks like. I believe honoring your sexual energy is cultivating your sexual energy within yourself and only sharing it with people who you truly believe deserve to receive that energy. People need to be deserving of receiving your sexual energy. You cannot think that, putting your body out in the open and sharing it with everyone and sleeping with everybody, you can't think that this is a form of self-honor. And if you're clear on the fact that this is not a form of self honor, then you also can't expect to be honored in your energy. Does that make sense? Can we take that much accountability? Can we? I hope we can, because this is the breakthrough right here. Okay, let's move on. This video is going to be as long as I said I didn't want to make it. Anyway, um, where do you need to loosen up and let go in your life to feel less concerned about what others think in order to become mindful about your own desires? So, this could look like, again, I can use myself as an example. I'm just going to use myself through the whole thing. This is what we're going to do, okay? So, when I think about the reason, the intention behind why I even was operating in this hypersexual energy in the first place, it was absolutely rooted in people pleasing. 1000%. Wanting to be chosen, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be valued, wanting to be, looked at, wanting attention, wanting, you know, that external validation is a killer. I wanted that. I wanted that. I wanted the external validation because I didn't know how to give it to myself. I didn't know how to give myself internal validation. So I was seeking it externally and seeking it through my sexual energy because that's the energy I'm most comfortable with. So this is where my breakthrough happened. Like I said, I came to the realization that I wasn't honoring my sexual energy. I couldn't expect that anyone coming towards me while I'm attracting them with my sexual energy on the forefront, I couldn't expect them to operate in a way where they valued and honored my sexual energy in return because I wasn't honoring it myself. So I had to let go of the idea that the best part of me is the sexual part of me. Like, I had to let go of the idea that my sexual nature is my best quality. That's insane. But if you really look at it, that's how I was moving. I was moving as if my sexual nature is the best quality that I have. And there's so many amazing things about me, so many amazing things, qualities that I have, things that I can do, things that I carry within me in my DNA, my wisdom, my talents, my creativity, my creations. I do so many things and it boggles my mind now that I'm so aware of that part of myself that I even chose to do it that way. Like, it's like I'm not beating myself up so you don't do that either. But I'm definitely like, it's mind-boggling to come to that realization that, although my sexual energy is amazing, that is not my best quality. That is not the best thing about me. It is super fun, yes, but the best parts of me don't need to be cloaked using my sexual energy, but more so learning boundaries. And that's what I had to switch it out with. Not cloaking myself in my sexual energy and being afraid because that was stemming from fear. First of all, that only happened in the first place because the root of that was fearfulness. When I removed the fear, stepped out of the fear, said, I don't care about being validated by anybody. I don't care about being validated by anybody. I'm validating myself. I validate myself. I give myself validation. I look good. I feel good. I'm intelligent. I'm creative. I'm powerful. I know who I am. I'm aware. I am the one. Okay. And I give that to myself. And because I give that to myself, I don't feel like I need to put that cloak of sexual energy up anymore. I don't. And the withdrawal happens so fast that I feel like the people who've encountered me in the last few weeks, I don't think they realize that I'm not the same person yet. I don't think they know it yet, but that's okay. That is okay. But yeah, so there's that. Moving on. In what ways can you start honoring your sexual energy? So what that can look like, I'll share a couple examples. Pulling your sexual energy back and not leading with that sexual energy, but leading with your intelligence, leading with your great conversation, leading with your boundaries and saying no. Like literally saying no and not budging on your no. When it's no, it's no. I'm not budging on my no. Because here's the truth, this is what we need to get through our heads, especially romantically. But this can play out in your friendships, your family, whatever. If somebody honors you and someone knows that they want to have you around in their life, you telling them no won't matter to them because they know eventually it'll get to wherever it needs to get to for them, wherever they're trying to get to, whatever their goals are. they won't rush you because they know, okay, this is what I actually want. So I don't need to rush this because I'm always going to have access because I want this in my life. I want this in my timeline. So if you say no and you put your boundaries up and you feel like the challenge of this person, pushing past your no because they want what they want, and then now you're about to let your boundaries and your guard down because you really want that person, or you really want that situation to work, or you really want the friendship to work, or you really want your family member to still see you the same way, and to still be happy. In all cases, if these people value you, it doesn't matter if you say no or if you say not right now, because they will understand, like subconsciously, if their intentions are pure, they won't ever push forward, because then they understand that through their actions it will show you if they've already decided they want to keep you in their life, they want to keep you around, they plan on nurturing the connection. And through their actions you'll also see if they decided subconsciously that this may not be something they want. So their actions may be a little hasty, a little bit impulsive, right? And that's telling. That's not something you have to ask. You just pay attention. So you take your power back when you sit back, take your hands off, keep your boundaries, and just observe. When you say no, pay attention to how the responses are coming towards you. How do people respond to you when you tell them no? Pay attention to that. And I have practiced and will be continuously practicing doing this, because we need to stop begging for validation, begging to be seen, begging to be chosen, begging to be loved, begging to be understood. Once you remove that, your no is more powerful. That's when it becomes a full sentence, because people can read your energy. So if you're hesitant behind the no, they're going to sense that you're hesitant behind the no, and they're going to push past your no and meet your hesitancy or your hesitation. They're going to meet your hesitation, and then you're going to go against yourself. When they meet your hesitation, it strengthens that hesitation. And then you move against your boundaries. You see how crazy the game is? The way the world works is so crazy. And if you're a person who's just trying to be a lover in life, like, you're gonna have to really have some strong boundaries. And that's what I'm learning. You can't just walk around the world with rose colored glasses, just wanting to love and be loved, because the world doesn't respond back in that way. It really truly responds to solid energy. So you have to be solid, and you have to be careful who you're sharing your sexual energy with. Okay, if there's anybody that could tell you, let me tell you. Okay, let me tell you. Anyways, this was great. This was a great conversation. This is my favorite chakra, if you can already tell. So before we go, I have to drop some tools, some sacral chakra tools, leave you with some great things to take with you. And first, I want to start with the mudras. Now, if you didn't catch my videos previously, I love talking about mudras. I love talking about symbolism, working with symbolism. I have my symbol on my wrist right here. This is the Ingwas rune, and this represents fertility, new beginnings, and closing out old cycles. So this is one way you can work with runes. You can even write it down on a piece of paper. If you have an altar and you do altar work, you can put your runes on your altar. Put it in the sun, put it put it under the moon, let it charge up, and speak your intentions. Runes and symbolism, we live in a coded matrix. So numbers, patterns, sacred geometry, all of those things hold energy. It's all power. Some project more sound, and others project more um, like energetic frequencies that create a certain environment around you. Okay, so today we have the Shakti mudra. The Shakti mudra is the sacral chakra mudra, and helps you put your sacral chakra energy into alignment. It is also connected to the um, water element and earth element, and helps with flow, because remember, your sacral chakra is the water element. So the Shakti mudra activates that flow and works with that water and earth element. So as you're grounding through your root chakra, which is below your sacral chakra, you're also in flow with the water element, so that you can help move this energy around. And you've heard therapists say that you hold trauma in your hips, especially women. I believe men do as well. But when you feel tightness in your hips, I feel like men do just as much as women do. Maybe women do a little bit more because we do have our womb, and, we carry babies. But I do believe that men hold a lot of trauma in their hips as well. And because your hips are tight, it's hard for you to open your hips up. There's hip exercises that you can try, and you'll know that your hips are really tight. And one of the most simple ways of helping to move that stagnant energy around and break down that trauma you're holding in your hip areas is to do, hip circles, hip rotations, very wide hip rotations. When you stand up, just roll your hips in a circle. Maybe do 10 to the left and 10 to the right. And then maybe some side to side hips, side to side. I do that every rising when I get up to break up the stagnant energy in my hips, because I did talk about in a previous video that your digestive system is connected to your abundance. So your hips is also connected to your abundance. So when you release that trauma, you get to move and flow with, the things that you want to actually attract towards you. So here's your Shakti Mudra. It looks like putting these two fingers, bending them, putting them together. Okay. So when you get these two fingers together, you're going to stretch your ring finger and your pinky finger out. And this is how it's going to look. Okay. Sorry, I did surgery on this pinky, so it doesn't really go as straight as I would like. But this is the mudra. This is what it's going to look like when you get it all together. Okay. And then you're going to press your thumbs together and point down. Okay. So this is your sacral chakra. It kind of looks like a representation of a vagina. Okay. And you're going to hold this hold this mudra close to your stomach, whether you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter. And focus on your breathing in the pelvic area. Hold this for 12 minutes. This has a calming effect and will help you fall asleep at night. If it is done too often or held for too long, it may lead to lethargy. So be careful with this mudra. It's powerful. Very, very powerful. Okay. Also, I'm sorry if I keep hitting my mic. So the herbs mentioned in previous videos, like Damiana and red raspberry leaf, are very powerful. They help support the sacral chakra energy as well. Also, ginger and hibiscus. Hibiscus is also known as sorrel if you are Caribbean. You'll know hibiscus as sorrel. All support the sacral chakra. These herbs restore, they're restoring and balancing sexual energy in the auric field. Tonkat Ali is one of my favorite masculine herbs. This helps with blood flow in the sexual organs for men, and also boosts fertility by enhancing sperm quality and potentially treat erectile dysfunction. Maca root is also a sacral chakra herb that balances hormones and enhances libido in both men and women. Okay, so that's all I have for y'all today. Don't forget to wear your oranges and your yellows and your golds and your whites to amplify the energy of Sacral Chakra Week. Working with your Sacral Chakra energy. If you feel like you want to, continue working in the flow of Sacral Chakra energy, you can do it past this week. It really doesn't matter. You can continue wearing these colors. These colors are a representation. When you become the altar, you become the source. Okay, you become directly connected to source, which makes you source, and then you can create even more powerfully. So work with these colors. I do want to once again share this rune with you. Remember, this is called Inga's, the Inga's rune for fertility and new beginnings, breaking old cycles, and starting fresh. Okay. So I wish that all for you all. And I love you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope that this was super helpful for you. And this is a long video, but I'm sure it'll be useful. And again, thank you so much for being here. I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to check the previous videos and go back to Root Chakra Week if this is your first one that you're seeing. Start from the beginning. Don't cheat, okay? You want to take the stairs, not the elevator, to success. Okay. I love you guys again.